It's been said that sound is half the experience in films, but in the stuff I do, I feel that sound is many times even more important. I mean, without sound, you wouldn't know what's going on in this scene from Lights Out. About 12 years ago, I was able to buy my very own video camera, and I started making awesome films like this. Right from the start, I decided to not use any of the sound recorded with the camera. It just didn't sound good enough. So everything was added in the edit, including the dialogue. Fun. I didn't have an external microphone or an audio recorder at the time, so the only way for me to record audio was with the camera. But when I was just recording audio, I could hold the camera's microphone right next to what I wanted to record and get a reasonably clean recording. So I would have mini DV tapes full of close-ups of my feet as I recorded various footsteps. To dub the dialogue, I would play back the camera audio recorded during the shoot, one line at a time, and the actors would then repeat what they just heard as similarly as possible.
Pony smasher, eh? Pony smasher, eh?
Then, with some editing and retiming, I'd try and fit it to the mouth movements as much as I could. Eventually, one of my films won first prize at a film festival, and in the prize bag was a Rode NTG-1 shotgun microphone, which enabled me to get much better sound than the omnidirectional mics on my camera. I also eventually bought a Zoom H4 so I didn't have to record everything on videotape, which was a big hassle. Over the years, I've gotten more gear either by luck, like when I received a scholarship that enabled me to get an HD camera, or when I've had paying jobs. Instead of renting expensive gear, I've bought more affordable gear that I can then keep using for personal projects. But with the Zoom and the Rode, I could now start collecting sounds for my own personal sound library. If I was going somewhere where I thought there might be interesting sounds, I'd bring my little sound bag because you never know when you might need a certain sound. Sometimes you hear an interesting sound when you're just sitting at home and your neighbor decides to use the loudest drill in the world. Might as well record it. One of these days I might find a use for it. Some years ago when friends came over with their baby, I recorded a bunch of baby noises that I just now finally got to use in the film Coffer. And a lot of things that you record can be used for things other than what they actually are, like the testing of the Swedish national alarm system. I've used that as train horn. Or the sound of a bus door I've used for sort of robotic movements.
Imagine that you're...
I try my best to record all of my own sounds, but sometimes when there are things I don't have access to or I can't fake, like a locomotive, then I buy them from this website called SoundSnap. You can Google free sound effects, I guess, but I usually get paranoid that the rights won't actually be cleared. It feels more secure to really know that you have the rights to everything in your film to avoid any problems down the line. I have a bunch of recordings of footsteps in various speeds and on various surfaces like snow, asphalt, grass, wooden floors, etc. On, real films, they have Foley people who sort of act out all of the footsteps on a stage that has all these different surfaces. I don't really have that opportunity, so I cut out all the individual footsteps and place them by hand. I did once try and map a bunch of footsteps on my MIDI keyboard and tried playing the footsteps while watching the screen. It did kind of work, but I still find it best to place each step by hand, even though it can be quite a bit of work. Since Lotta and I make horror films, we were very lucky that we managed to get an apartment with very noisy floors. And finding the right creak to use at the right moment is kind of fun. I've been very happy with the Rode stuff, so whenever I've had the opportunity to buy more gear, I've stuck to their stuff. Although I did cheat on them when I got a really good deal on a SE2200A large diaphragm microphone. I use that for stuff like this voiceover, and it's worked well in combination with the Rode mics. As for the Zoom, it's a bit of a different story. The headphone jack on my Zoom H4 eventually broke, so when a paying job came up, I bought the newer version, the Zoom H4n. Now, the headphone jack has started glitching on this one as well. I don't know if I'm the problem or whatever it is, but as soon as I have some money to spend, I'll have to buy a new audio recorder. Zoom has a very sexy looking newer model, but I'll have to do some research to see what's up with the headphone jacks. Let me know if you have any experience with these. When it comes to audio editing and mixing, I use Reaper. It's available for both PC and Mac. It's quite affordable, very powerful, and has an amazingly small installation file. I mean, look at that. How does that even work? I have not run into any limitations with this software. For the short film Wallace, I did a full surround sound mix, doing a lot of cool routing. Like when the characters are in an abandoned factory, I routed parts of just the reverb to the surround speakers, and it sounds great. One thing I find myself doing a lot in Reaper is uncheck the preserve pitch when changing rate, and then playing around with different speeds on clips. Like for Coffer, I recorded this bathroom ventilation, and by stretching it out, I got this ominous sound for the bottomless coffer. To make the sound of the coffer opening sound really scary, I used both normal speed clips and slowed down clips together to get a bigger sound. I think that's the key to great sound, to layer several of them together and not just use one sound. You know, you can have one element for the low frequencies and another to add to the high frequencies and really build up the sound you need. For more dialogue-heavy material, I have recorded the dialogue on location instead of dubbing it in post. For those times, you need a boom pole to hold the mic close to your characters. And here's mine. Yeah, this is just a painter's pole with a mic screw attached. Even when it's folded up, it's really long, so it's quite inconvenient for transportation. Rode have some pretty inexpensive boom poles, especially compared to some of the ones I've seen. Yeah. But on the occasions when I actually have some money to spend, what is basically a fancy stick just never makes the top of the shopping list. So for the time being, I make do with this. I wrap the handle with electrical tape though for some extra awesomeness. So that was a little bit about my approach to sound, and I hope you enjoyed. This video was not sponsored by Rode, Reaper, or any other company that may or may not start with the letter R. R.